start now. We are streaming live on Facebook as well and recording this presentation this morning. My name is Matt Mayhood. I'm President and CEO of the Silicon Valley Organization. And I also serve with Mark Turner of the Gilroy Chamber as the co-chair of the Silicon Valley Chamber Coalition, which is a group of chambers of commerce who are today calling for the safe reopening of our economy to help small businesses in our communities survive. I'm also pleased this morning to have the South Bay Pastures Network joining us today. It is a group of lead pastors in the South Bay that meet regularly since shelter in place to coordinate community efforts to support low-income and vulnerable families. Our coalition is here today because there are hundreds and thousands of small businesses and restaurants that are being left behind ever since the COVID-19 shelter-in-place began, well over 6 months ago. You will hear their stories in today's press conference. Unfortunately, we know that COVID-19 is going to be with us for a very long time. Keeping significant parts of our economy shut down is not a solution. We are calling on Santa Clara County to take a proactive leadership role to demonstrate pathways to safely reopening our economy. We need to find ways to mitigate risk and safely live with the virus so that our small businesses and the working poor have a fighting chance to survive. We can accomplish this by setting high standards for health and safety protocols that limit the transmission of COVID-19 and allow businesses to operate. The state has allowed Santa Clara County to move into the red tier, which should allow for indoor dining and indoor gathering for places of worship at reduced capacity of 25%. Yet Santa Clara County continues to restrict their activities. The state and the county have two different goalposts for safely reopening our economy, and our small businesses are caught in the crosshairs, suffering as a result. The economic problem is acute, deep, and getting worse every day. At minimum, the county must clearly communicate how we can find solutions to safely reopen using evidence-based approach to limit the spread of COVID-19. Furthermore, we call on Santa Clara County to prioritize saving our small businesses by steering more financial resources to help them stay afloat, especially when they are being forced to stay closed. Without any local action and an immediate pathway to safely reopening, our small businesses and low-income families simply won't survive this crisis, increasing poverty and the demands upon the county and the state for increased social services. Now you'll hear from our speakers. At the end, we'll ask the members of the media who will be welcome to take questions directly from, directly from our speakers.
Sorry.
If you are a member of the media and you'd like to ask a question, please put your name into the chat box and I will call upon you and moderate the speakers at the end. Now I'd like to introduce our first speaker, the Honorable Roland Velasco, Mayor, City of Gilroy.
Mayor, you're muted. 1 second.
Mayor, can you please unmute yourself?
So thank you so much, Matt. As Matt was saying, we know that COVID-19 will be with us for a very long time. There is no guarantee that things will return to normal anytime soon. Thus, we need to learn how to live safely with the virus and mitigate the risk, rather than shutting down the economy indefinitely. With the gridlock in Washington, D.C., there is no guarantee that there will be another round of stimulus funds, and the enhanced unemployment benefits are expiring. Now, I could speak to what's happening here in Gilroy. Local businesses, like those here in Gilroy and elsewhere, face a difficult task of deciding whether it's time to tap into what's left in their savings account, pull money out of their homes, borrow money from family members, or simply close their doors permanently. None of these are good options. Gilroy businesses, like businesses in other communities, employ local residents, pay local taxes, contribute to local nonprofits, support local schools, and help local causes. We know We must look to local solutions to help save our small businesses and to give them a fighting chance. Santa Clara County has always been self-reliant, meaning that we always look to seek local solutions to solve our collective problems, especially when we can't rely on the state or the federal government. The county public health department can help businesses safely reopen by teaching the community how to properly mitigate risk when it comes to the transmission of COVID-19. This strategy will avoid a total economic shutdown and help us find ways to live, work, and serve our communities safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Velasco. Appreciate you being with us. Our next speaker is the Honorable Johnny Camas, Council Member, City of San Jose. Council Member.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mayor. I want to start by saying government can't be all about saying no, because there's no amount of government-run programs that'll help unemployed stay in their homes. And there's no additional funds coming in from the federal government to help prop up businesses or keep people in their homes. In fact, government relies on small business and small employers for tax revenues that we use for services like police and parks and firefighters. So if we don't let businesses stay in business, there'll be no revenues for any of the services that we need and that we've been accustomed to. I want to be clear, we're not asking for willy-nilly ways to get back to business. We're asking you, the county, to find safer ways for all businesses and community organizations to serve the community better and safely. Please help us get people employed, get people back to work, get people to bring in the revenues that we need to serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Appreciate you being with us this morning. I'd now like to welcome and have come to the virtual podium, Vinny Abraham. He is a local compassion pastor with Westgate Church. Vinny?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for inviting faith communities to this very important discussion about safely reopening the economy here in Santa Clara County. From the outset, let me make it very clear. Faith communities, the network that I'm part of, and faith communities that I'm aware of, care deeply about the safe reopening of the economy and the safety of our community during the global pandemic. It's simply because that's what our sacred scriptures teach us, to love our neighbors and to care for one another. Just during shelter in place, faith communities in Santa Clara County from all denominations and all religions have stepped up to help our county. We provided hundreds of volunteers to support essential workers during shelter in place. In the midst of the pandemic, we cared for our homeless folks to keep them safe and to keep others safe. We opened up our parking lots of our campuses to host folks who lost their jobs and are living out in cars and trucks. We supported childcare efforts so that low-income parents could go back to work. We leaned on the employers in our community and asked them to hire local and to hire more, because we believe that the greatest dignity you could give a person is the dignity of gainful employment. These are just some of the stuff that faith communities have been doing. We continued to do these things in the midst of a pandemic because these works cannot stop. It keeps us safe and it brings inclusion in our journey to recovery. Faith communities are concerned that when winter hits, that we will not be able to meaningfully engage with our congregants in worship. This will immensely impact what we do for the good of our community. So today we have a 4-point strategy that can be used as a metric to increase the percentage of people who can gather indoors. I implore those who are in the county administration to collaboratively work with us to safely ease restrictions on indoor worship so that we can continue to contribute to the spiritual, emotional, and economical needs of our community. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Finney. Really appreciate you being here and appreciate all the work you do in our communities. I'd now like to welcome to speak is Randy Muster. He is the owner of Sushi Confidential and will give a small restaurant perspective. Randy?
Thank you, Matt. My name is Randy Muster. I'm the owner of Sushi Confidential. Prior to starting up Sushi Confidential in 2012, I was a cancer research scientist for 17 years. I also worked on infectious diseases and the swine flu vaccine in 2009. From a scientific perspective, as well as a restaurateur, I am seeing huge discrepancies on what is open and not open. We know where the outbreaks are occurring, places that have no oversight and no control. We can safely reopen if the county takes leadership in providing strict guidance on sanitation measures and proven techniques to limit the spread of COVID-19. Our staff, our customers, and our community have had 6 months of experience wearing a face mask, practicing social distancing protocols, and recognizing the symptoms of COVID-19. We also better understand how it spreads and who is most likely to become very ill. Indoor dining is a controlled environment that can accommodate advanced sanitation and safety protocols. We know that indoor dining at a reduced capacity has worked in other places without significant increases in spreading COVID-19. I was in Denver last week and witnessed Denver restaurants being extremely safe with indoor dining, using temperature checks at the door, plexiglass dividers between customers, and of course, face masks and hand sanitizers. Last night, I spoke with a seasoned restaurant owner in San Diego. She owns 6 restaurants. She has had 6 employees contract COVID outside of work. All 6 have recovered. Unfortunately, she has had 3 employees die of suicide and overdosing in the last 4 months. This continued, prolonged shutdown is affecting our community in other ways that are not often reported or publicized. It's better to create safe guidelines now to reopen. I am already seeing an increase in businesses going rogue and opening up regardless without any formal guidelines or oversight. I would rather our health department spend time on creating safe protocols for opening indoors versus spending their valuable time trying to fine or close these rogue businesses. It's going to come down to putting food on the table for the family or filing bankruptcy and losing everything. Unless our lawmakers and county public health take meaningful action to help us safely reopen, our small restaurants will never survive this shutdown. Yelp predicts 55% of business closures may be permanent. Our restaurants, businesses, and employees just want a fighting chance to survive, literally. Please safely open up indoor dining and restaurants to help save the small business economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Really appreciate your comments and all that you're doing, not only just running your restaurant, but also the way you've been engaging the community too. It means a lot. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Speaker is Maya Mansour. She's the owner of the original facial bar, which will give also a small business perspective. Maya?
Good morning. My name is Maya Mansour, and I'm the owner of the original facial bar in Cupertino and Willow Glen. I'm a licensed esthetician by the California State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, an immigrant business owner, and a single mom trying to survive in Silicon Valley. It's been simply heartbreaking to see the economy reopen safely while we entered the red tier, while I'm still being left behind by our county public health department. As of today, in writing, Santa Clara County is the only county out of all 58 counties in California that has prevented estheticians from working both indoors and outdoors. Out of all 58 county public health officers in California, Santa Clara County's health officer is the only one to have identified esthetician facial services as unsafe to reopen in the red tier. There is no evidence to suggest that esthetician services are any more risky than medical spas. We may be the only business that has not been allowed to operate in any way for 6 months consecutively. County health officers have not regulated our industry since 1927. We are state licensed and state regulated by the State Board of Barbing and Cosmetology. County health officers do not understand our industry. To arbitrarily distinguish between state board licensees is not only unfair, but they do not have the technical expertise to do so. The State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology has resumed their in-person, hands-on, practical examination back in June, uninterrupted. The State Board believes we can do these services safely. COVID-19 does not discriminate against a person's profession. Yet, why does Santa Clara County allow medical spas to reopen but prohibit us from doing the same very facial services? Moreover, why does Santa Clara County feel that it is safe to perform lip fillers and teeth whitening but unsafe to perform a non-invasive facial? If it were a safety issue, the same should apply for riskier and non-essential services. The Professional Beauty Federation of California has worked so hard getting our industry safely reopened throughout the state, but Santa Clara County's restrictions are arbitrary and wholly uninformed about our state licensed profession. They are not following any other county in their unfounded restrictions. Whenever I ask the county to clarify when esthetician services can reopen in a certain tier, I always receive, "We don't know," as the answer. We have not been classified in a tier. This is unacceptable. We have been shut down for 6 months consecutively. Our businesses have been severely impacted. The governor, our State Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, and our Professional Trade Association all know we can safely reopen. The county must be more proactive and issue guidance to safely reopen so that my small business and small businesses like mine have a chance to survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Really appreciate your passionate plea and really pointing out the inconsistencies in Santa Clara's restrictions on reopening. Really appreciate that. Very well done. Now our next speaker is Jacqueline Tran. She's the owner of Polished Nail Salon, a Vietnamese women-owned business. Jacqueline.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you, Maya. Hello there, my name is Jacqueline Tran, and I am the proud owner of Polish Salon in Eastside San Jose. I am very passionate about our industry, and the main reason why I even joined my mom in creating this salon was to support, empower, and advocate for individuals in this industry, an industry that's often overlooked and undermined or thought of as low-skilled and made up of wonderful, wonderful workers who are oftentimes immigrants. I am proud to be here today to also speak up on behalf of nail and hair salon owners in Santa Clara County. There are hundreds of them, and many of them are immigrant owned and may be hesitant or a little underconfident in speaking up about this due to the fact that English is their second language. Here to speak up on their behalf. So many of the workers in the nail and hair industry are the sole income of their households, and we have been closed down for 6 months. So not only are small business owners thinking about how they are going to afford their living necessities such as rent and utilities, they also have to worry about the rent and utilities for their businesses. Many of the landlords aren't giving them a break or a waive. So to think about how to survive in this pandemic, but also to have to think about how your small business is going to survive is terrible and stressful. And like I mentioned, many of the workers, many of our employees are immigrants who are the main income for their households. So this isn't a question of whether or not they have disposable income to spend. It is a matter of their ability to be able to feed their families or even afford rent to have a roof over their heads. The health of our clients and our community have always been of the utmost importance and have always been a main priority. In fact, in order to become a manicurist or a licensed cosmetologist, we must go through vigorous training. Over 25% of the curriculum is dedicated to learning health code standards and proper disinfection, bacteriology, physiology, and anatomy. So even before this pandemic, we were practicing protocols that basically we assume that someone is infectious while they enter in our building. We have already practiced sanitizing. Our nail technicians have always worn masks, washed their hands in between clients. So we have always practiced safety, and we are licensed to practice safety. So many of the protocols that we have practiced before are now required of all industries. So what I am trying to get at is that we really must think about how this pandemic is affecting not only small business owners, but the working class employees that they employ. I really hope and urge the county to please find a plan to open safely, or find a plan to please support those whose livelihoods are being destroyed. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Really appreciate you being with us here. And our final speaker before we open up to questions, and I'll make a few closing comments, is Mark Turner, President and CEO of the Gilroy Chamber of Commerce and also the co-chair of the Silicon Valley Chamber Coalition. Mark?
Thank you, Matt. When the pandemic first hit and we received shelter-in-place order, the initial goals were to flatten the curve, ensure there were enough ventilators, and keep from overwhelming the health system. We did that. We accomplished it. We flattened the curve. Now let's not flatten our business community by continually applying such restrictive standards that there's no hope in moving forward. In early July, the Santa Clara County Health Department deemed it safe to reopen indoor hair and nail salons, gyms, and other personal care services. One day into that order, the state pulled back and shut us down. Now, the state has moved us into the red tier, that's tier 2, and the county health department is still shutting down indoor dining and other indoor operations. These types of inconsistencies are a recipe for disaster for our business community. Being closed is not a strategy. Remaining closed is not a good business plan. You don't tell entrepreneurs to stand down. If you want to solve problems and develop winning strategies, turn to the entrepreneurs who make up our local economies. We are looking to the county leaders to take a leadership role and demonstrate a reasonable path forward to safely reopening the economy so that our businesses have a fighting chance to survive. We would ask the county leaders to consider the following 5-point plan for a safe reopening. Number 1, allow the business community to sit at the table regarding decisions about reopening. The Silicon Valley Coalition of Chambers is made up of 18 chambers of commerces in and around Silicon Valley. We represent multiple thousands of businesses and tens of thousands of employees. Let leaders of this coalition at least participate in the discussion. Number 2, clearly communicate what businesses can do so the county health department will allow indoor dining, places of worship to reopen, and movie theaters to entertain guests once again in safe environments. Number 3, clearly articulate what needs to happen within the county infrastructure to support safely reopening and provide whatever support is needed to make it happen. Number 4, identify the goals and objectives without moving the goals and objectives when the targets are hit. Inconsistent moving targets are demoralizing to the business community and gives a sense there's no hope for a safe reopening. There's an ancient proverb that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Our restaurants and business owners simply want a fighting chance to survive. And number 5, if the county is going to implement a more restrictive order than the state and keep certain businesses from operating at a capacity that ensures survival, then the county should consider providing funding mechanisms in the form of grants and low to no interest rate loans and other financial support to keep businesses afloat until they can safely reopen. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate your comments and our call for action, and appreciate your leadership, along with the other chambers of commerce who have joined us here this morning. Many of those CEOs and executive directors are on this call as well. If you are a member of the media and you would like to ask a question of one of our speakers, please indicate so in the chat box, and I will call on you and we will unmute your line. One thing I do want to say as folks look at asking questions is encourage all of our readers, all of the viewers who are going to take a look at today's press conference and encourage them to buy local and to shop local as much as possible. Our local small businesses are just really suffering right now, and you can really help your community by shopping local and taking out food and going online and shopping at your local boutique that's set up a website, or going and shopping online, or calling and going and picking up stuff. We encourage you to do that because we have a fundamental belief, all of these chambers of commerce have a fundamental belief that when businesses succeed, our communities thrive, and we can keep people working, we can keep them out of poverty, we can keep them housed, and keep our community thriving moving forward. So with that, Jody Meacham, you have a question. We'd love to take you off of mute and have you ask a question, Jody.
Yeah, Matt, and for any of the business owners who've had indoor businesses that still haven't been able to open up, have any of you contacted the county personally on why it's got different standards, even though we're red than the rest of the state? What was the reception you got from county officials, and what did they tell you about the future?
Maya, you want to take that
Sure.
one?
Yes, we have been, our mission was to open and bridge any communication gaps. We have been reaching out daily. We've sent out, unfortunately, over hundreds of emails, phone calls, forums, messages. I've even met with the county supervisors. The only thing we've been told is they do not know. And unfortunately, we should know, and we need to know right now. And we really hope you can deliver this message. It's time we know. It's been 6 months.
And they have not been able to tell you why they have a different standard from the state?
Correct. All they would say is we are not here to talk about why it's different. They only keep restating the mandates and the ordinance and all the rules, and they keep reiterating them with no explanation.
Anybody else want to weigh in? Randy, I've spoken to you before.
Yeah, I don't have any experience here in the county personally. I did speak with a business owner in San Diego, and what she had said was they don't have a lot of guidance down there either. And when they had different health inspectors come to their place of business to evaluate, does this work, does this comply, they didn't even have the answers. So I'm assuming that's across the board, that it's when you do construction, every inspector comes out and has a different guideline or interprets things differently, and that's what's happening right now with the health department. We just have no concrete guidance on what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Are there other questions from the media? I had a comment, Syed Masood. I don't know what media outlet you're with, and asked you to identify yourself.
Yes. Sorry, yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Sajid. I live in Morgan Hill. I'm a small business owner.
Are you with it, Syed? Are
I
you with
have
the
this.
media? Thank you.
With who? Sorry?
Are you with the media, Syed?
No, I'm not with the media.
Okay. We're taking questions from the media. Thank you. Any other questions from the media? Okay, if there are no other questions from the media,
I'm sorry, I cut in. I tried saying in the chat I had a question, but I guess I'll just, hop in.
Mauricio, go ahead and identify yourself.
Thanks. This is Mauricio LaPlante with San Jose Spotlight.
Go ahead. What's your question, Mauricio?
So I have a question for the owner of Sushi Confidential. You were mentioning earlier that there haven't been like clear guidelines. I guess, could you elaborate more on that? And what are your guidelines that you're envisioning? Because obviously there have just been general guidelines such as, wearing a mask when you're not eating and drinking, and obviously reducing the amount of people you have within a certain space. So I suppose, what would you do if you are indeed allowed to reopen indoors to, mitigate that spread and create less risk for people who are willing to, patronize your business?
Sure. Currently the only guidelines we have is for outdoor dining. So we would most likely keep all of those current guidelines when we move indoors. What we don't have any clarity on is what would be the expectations in addition to what we're currently doing for outside dining once we move indoors. So for example, do they want us to replace our air filtration system to some sort of HEPA filter? Are they going to want us to keep all of our doors open, front, back, side doors, to create airflow, or install fans throughout the restaurant to keep the air moving? Other strategies could be only having one server approach your table, and that same server would have to bring your food and your drinks versus a food runner, a drink runner. There's a lot of things we're already complying with for outdoor dining, but where is it going to start or end for the indoor dining? And plexiglass dividers, hand sanitizers, all of these things we're able to do. And I've worked with very infectious diseases in my biotech career. And when you're trying to come up with a vaccine or come up with some sort of cure for a cancer, you don't just say, oh no, it's too infectious, we're not going to work with it. No, you develop different strategies and guidelines to work with that particular infectious disease. So why can't the health department and the county come up with specific guidelines that will allow restaurants to at least have the option to do those things to help continually keep our employees and our customers safe? We just have zero guidelines.
Thank you, Randy. I'd also just like
Thank you.
The point of us doing this press conference virtually today is the fact that not only did we have 120 people on this virtual press conference, we would have never been allowed to have that type of large gathering outside with COVID-19, and we understand that. So that's why we did this virtually, as well as the air quality is unhealthy currently in Silicon Valley. So we needed to make sure that we did this virtually. But I do want to emphasize that we're under a timeline here. Small businesses continue to suffer, as do our entire communities. And the level of inaction and the ability to open up our economy safely, we need a timeline. We need to understand when we can reopen. COVID-19 is not going to go away anytime soon. The cold weather is coming. Restaurants and other businesses cannot continue to operate outside. It's just not feasible. It's not sustainable. So we really need an action plan to try to move forward to reopen our economy safely, and need these action plans being worked with our business community. Janice Bitters from SJI, do you have a question?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Great. Okay. So I was just wondering about, all the businesses here and how many of them have been able to operate outside so far, how that's been going, and also wanted to see if they could touch on, the last couple of weeks with the air quality and how that may have affected their businesses. And I'm sorry if that's already been addressed a little bit, but I struggled to connect initially. So just wanted to see if I could hear a little bit about how outside business operations have been going and how the air quality has affected that in the last couple weeks.
I don't know if any of our speakers want to take that. I know I've seen some comments in the chat that answered that question, that restaurants have seen decreased business. Randy, has that affected your business at all?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of when the rainy season comes, when when the weather starts getting colder, it starts to rain. It directly affects, especially outdoor dining. at the very beginning. So we did see a drop immediately. We even closed down both our Campbell and San Jose location when we had, the first two really bad smoky days. It has rebounded a little bit. So we're starting to get back to normal. I don't know if people are getting used to it or just don't care, or the draw to sit outside with warmer weather. But we have seen it starting to normalize. However, the issue is, you are seeing all of this soot and ash landing on the tables. You have your umbrellas up, so you move an umbrella, after 2 hours of being outside. So you're definitely seeing the effect. And, we just want to caution any of our customers that do come. They are wearing masks the majority of the time unless they're not eating. So that's kind of the silver lining, that they are trying to protect themselves from two different things now versus just one. But it does have a negative effect on business overall.
Thank you, Randy. And we're seeing a lot of comments in the chat that folks from many restaurants in Los Gatos are saying that their sales have been decimated since the fire started and all of the smoke and all of the ash. So definitely is a problem, and we're dealing not just with a pandemic, but with unhealthy air quality, which is keeping people at home. So it's a crisis within a crisis. And I just don't know how much businesses can take. Any other questions from the media? All right, we're at 10:37, and I want to thank all of our speakers for being here with us. Really appreciate the time. I want to thank the media for taking the time out of their busy schedule to be with us, and many of the guests who joined. We have representatives from not only the executives and the staff of the Chambers of Commerce from around Silicon Valley, but many of their members that are here with us who their businesses are negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And they're just looking for a way to reopen safely. And we need the assistance of the county to get along with the state and to find us a pathway soon and a timeline to reopen our economy safely, to get our employees back to work, to get our customers back in our businesses, and to get our economy going again. So with that, I'll wish everybody a prosperous day. And thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. This was great.
Thank you.